What's up, everybody? I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
All right, before we dive into the news, I just want to remind everybody, please head over to my website, btcsessions.ca. There you can reach out to me if you'd like to have an online sit down and learn about really any topic you like, whether it be securing your crypto, how to set up a wallet, or some overarching topics. It's all right here, so be sure to check that out. Also, if you'd like some BTC Sessions swag, you can head over to my Teespring link, which is down below in the description. So if you want to put my big dumb face across your chest, here you go. You can do that. But without further ado, let's dive into the news and the stuff that's interesting to me today. So, the first story I'd like to touch on is Eric Voorhees of Shapeshift has announced that they are laying off 37 people, which amounts to, I believe, a third of their entire workforce. And he cited a number of different things here. Some of it is just the bear market, the drop in value. Other things like regulation. They are now doing full KYC, or will be, and that lost them some customers. And it looks like he said they diversified into too many different things. Things like going into creating CoinCap, which is the coin market cap competitor, acquiring KeepKey, things like that, where they kind of had their hands in too many different cookie jars. Yes. It's interesting to me because this also comes on the heels of, Bitmain layoffs, and what was the other one? Consensus. Consensus laid off, it looks like 13% of their staff in December. So what are these companies doing wrong? Is it just a symptom of the bear market? Well, it's interesting because, you see other companies, like here's a tweet from Jameson Lopp. He works at Cashapp, which is heavily Bitcoin focused, and it looks like they're hiring. If you look even at the company that I work for, Bull Bitcoin in Canada here, we're looking at hiring kind of through the year and building up our staff. So what's the difference here? I think part of it may be a symptom of the fact that companies have been largely banking on just adding in new assets constantly and just hoping that people will trade between them, and that's where their revenue model is at. But when a lot of these projects start to fail or the users just drop off a cliff, well, there's no more trading to be done. People aren't really using these assets as they're meant to be used. They're speculating, and when the whole market is going down, there's not a whole lot of speculation going on. So the business, the revenue model is defeated. So when I look at something like, for instance, Bull Bitcoin that I'm working for, we facilitate people actually using their cryptocurrency to pay for their bills. So it's kind of a different mindset. It's a different revenue model. And so maybe that's contributing to some of this. But anyways, interesting to see. And it's always sad to hear of people losing their jobs. But hey, we'll see what companies come through this unscathed. This story I'm very, very interested in, and on its face, it doesn't seem like it's directly related to Bitcoin, and it's kind of not, but I still think it's very important. So there's been the yellow vests in France. They've been protesting for what seems like quite some time now. At the end of last year, kind of into the new year. So essentially what happened is there's these tariffs, these extra fees or taxes on fuel, and people were finding that they were just so high. Things like that don't go over well in France. And so these protests started. Everybody's wearing yellow vests, riots, vandalism, stuff like that all across Paris. And it's kind of growing more and more. And so the interesting thing that's happening right now is they're planning a bank run that could potentially collapse some banks or the euro as a whole. And The interesting, and the reason I kind of turned on to this is because I saw this picture, one of the yellow vests in Paris with a buy Bitcoin scrawled across the back of his vest. And there's been kind of this Bitcoin sentiment through a lot of this movement. Now, it's not a driving force of it, obviously, but there are pockets of it. And it is very interesting to see people grabbing onto this. And this idea of not trusting other people with your money. So essentially, there is a possible run on banks happening in France. And yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, buzz about this, saying that people will be turned on to Bitcoin through this. I don't think that will be a direct I don't think it'll happen directly as a bank run is happening in France, but I think it'll open people's eyes up to the fact that the money in their bank account is not actually theirs. When you trust other people with your money, you're putting a lot of trust in them, because the second that a large number of people want to take out money, it's not there. It's not there. So, you have Max Kaiser jumping in here saying that if every French person converted 20% of their bank deposits to Bitcoin, French banks and the government would collapse. Yeah, it would be a crazy thing to happen. I'm very interested to see how all of this pans out, but this beckons back to proof of keys that we just had at the beginning of January, where everybody did an organized bank run in order to prove that they could access their funds that they had on online exchanges. And I think having this kind of sentiment worldwide is needed, because we put our trust in other people with our own money for too long. And I'm very happy to see stuff like this. Now, if this becomes a trend worldwide, will there be problems? Oh, absolutely. But through the problems, we'll come up with solutions. So yeah, excited to see that pan out. Next, I want to jump into this. So there is, if you're unfamiliar, there's a website or a social media platform called Gab. And the premise behind Gab is that it's a free speech platform. There were people that were being mass deplatformed from various social media sites, and some of them were unsavory in some people's eyes, and others were just, of a different opinion than those people running the platforms. So one of the more famous ones that happened was Alex Jones from InfoWars. Now, I am not a big fan of Alex Jones or InfoWars, but what happened to him was, I found very scary. Essentially, he got removed from Facebook and Twitter and I'm not sure what other social media platforms, but basically anywhere that he was present that had a lot of people on the platform, he was booted from. And he was also prevented from accepting payments via PayPal and a few others. So essentially, Silicon Valley blackballed this person to the point where they couldn't easily even run their business. And this has been happening a lot more. And so Gab is supposed to be a solution to that. And so they've been really pumping Bitcoin specifically. The founder of Gab is a Bitcoin maximalist. They set up a BTC Pay server so that if you want to go ahead and use their advanced features, you can pay for that via Bitcoin and Lightning. And so they sent out an email to, how many users do they have? I think they sent out an email directly to about 850,000 people, encouraging them to check out Bitcoin as free speech money, which, I mean, that's some pretty good promotion there. And the thing was, though, they recommended people use Cashapp, which is from Square, which is from Twitter founder, Jack, what the hell is his name? I can't remember. Anyways, the founder of Twitter. And so guess what? Well, the founder of Gab was banned. His personal account was banned from Cashapp. So it's funny because they're giving all this promotion and everything. But it just seems like Silicon Valley is just, if somebody's out, they're out, and you're kind of screwed. So I think we can look at this and learn from it and just say that in general, centralized solutions are not the answer. And any time that you can kind of flatten things to make it accessible to all, it will be successful in the long run. So I think this is just a symptom of a larger problem that's happening right now, where if you don't agree with the, I guess, current social consensus or what the people building the platforms think, then you're out. And it is a scary sentiment, but it causes people to build alternatives like Gab. And in the sense of things like Cashapp or Coinbase deplatforming people, well, now we're starting to see decentralized exchanges and other ways for people to obtain and use Bitcoin. You see BTC Pay server, and you see things like BISC. There's a lot of stuff popping up where people will no longer have to rely on places like Cashapp, even though it is super convenient. So yeah, let's move on to one last thing here. Now this this is has to do with Russia moving some of its assets into Bitcoin, or supposedly. So let's take a look at what it says here, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So here in the byline, it says, could Russia replace the US dollar with Bitcoin as a reserve currency? According to one prominent Russian economist, the Kremlin could begin diversifying billions of dollars into Bitcoin as early as February, when the United States plans to introduce new sanctions against Russia. And I'll just pull a couple quotes here. US sanctions could maybe be mitigated only through Bitcoin use. Because of US sanctions, Russia's elite is forced to dump US assets in US dollars and invest hugely into Bitcoin. I believe that the Russian government will start diversifying its reserves with Bitcoin in February this year, when U.S. Congress will introduce a series of new sanctions against Russia. By the way, this is coming from a Russian economist and lecturer at the Russian Presidential Academy of National Economy and Public Administration in Moscow. So it's a guy with experience with the government. And then further, you have another quote from Vladimir Putin, where he said, "We have no goal of moving away from the dollar. It's the dollar that's moving away from us. Those making decisions are not shooting themselves in the foot, but somewhere more delicate, further up the body. Because there's instability when it comes to doing business with the dollar, it gives rise to a desire, and it's happening all around the world, to find alternative reserve currencies and creating a financial system independent from the dollar." Okay, so a lot there. But I'm going to kind of call bullshit here. I don't think that Russia is about to start diversifying into Bitcoin, or if they are, it would be so hidden away in such a small amount that it would essentially be a non-starter. I don't think they're going to be dumping billions or hundreds of billions of dollars into Bitcoin, at least not for quite some time. By the time you see governments buying Bitcoin, it'll already be an established world currency, and they'll be the last to catch up. I think this is a little bit of hopium, and honestly, I'll believe it when I see it. So those are my thoughts, but let me know what you think about this story and all the other stories that I talked about. And please don't forget to check out btcsessions.ca. Head over to Teespring, get a dumb t-shirt of myself, and hit the like and subscribe button. I will see you guys tomorrow for your daily session.